I don't know if you remember, there was an episode, but I don't know which season it was. It must have been season 5 or season 6, maybe, of the finale of Drag Race. And before RuPaul comes on the stage, she goes, "Excuse me, excuse my beauty. Bitches better beware." And then she comes out to stage, and like there's money being thrown at her, and there's dancers.
I don't remember that. When was that?
I'll have to insert a clip. I can't remember which season it was. It was one of the finale episodes. So yeah.
Okay. Well,
on that note, welcome back to the Brunch Committee Part 2.
Welcome back.
Episode 5. We are here again. With B.
She's still here.
Sorry. With Izzy.
She won't leave, guys. You can't get rid of her. So this episode, we're going to talk about Drag Race. Nothing but Drag Race. So if you're not interested in Drag Race, still listen. That's fine.
It's too late for you now. You clicked on it now.
So first of all, we're going to talk about the US Drag Race. And we're going to talk about episodes 9 and 10. Episodes 9 is the Snatch Game, and episode 10 is the one that just aired yesterday here in the UK and Friday in America, the Freaky Friday edition. And then towards the end of the second half of the episode, we'll talk about the UK episodes. So, US Snatch Game. The Queens impersonate celebrities in the legendary Snatch Game. T.S. Madison is the guest judge. So, guys, Denali was Jonathan Van Ness. What did we think?
Oh my god, fantastic.
Yeah, completely embodied him. Like,
yeah.
Inside Jonathan Ross is what I was going to say. So...
Oh, that's hilarious.
Imagine.
Waffy. You thought it was waffy.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's completely embodied.
Yeah, I thought it was Jonathan Van Ness. It was brilliant.
Yeah, seriously.
The mannerisms.
Close your eyes.
Like everything.
It was so specific. So I was listening to, or rather watching an episode just before we started recording of IMHO, In My Homosexual Opinion, which is a drag channel based out of Chicago. And they had Denali on. So they were so Auntie Chan, who's a Chicago-based queen, actually sat down and workshopped the jokes and the lines with Denali for this, so that he was fully prepared for any eventuality.
Really?
Yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with Auntie Chan, I would seriously recommend you go to YouTube, type in Auntie Chan, and you'll probably recognize some of her more viral videos. She is hilarious, and so that hilarity is now translated onto Denali in the Snatch Game. So yeah, I really thought Denali was incredibly strong and a real contender to win this week's episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Moving along to Elliot and the teas.
all the teas.
Teas. She was Rue McClanahan. Now, I've written down on my notes that she kept saying the same thing over and over, which was, "Oh, I love the company of gentlemen. Ooh, I love this about gentlemen. Love this about gentlemen."
I don't think she knew what it meant, because I feel like they asked her a question and she had no answer.
It was a real shame because Rue kind of warned her. In the episode earlier on, and maybe she didn't have enough of a strong backup to come on. She does talk about the fact that she wanted to take a risk, but the risk really didn't pay off.
Yeah, it just fell flat. Like, I don't even know who this Rue is. This Rue McClanahan or.
Oh, so this is.
You would have probably been able to do it better. You would have been able to do it better still. I don't know.
So there are probably people gasping and grasping their curls.
I know.
But the Golden Girls. I'm sure you've heard of the series The Golden Girls.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it.
Yeah, so Rue is one of the main characters from the Golden Girls. She's the more she's a Southern belle. She's a bit of a slut, and she literally
That's why she likes the gentleman.
Three girls. Exactly. Yeah. The fact that she was a Southern belle, the accent, in my opinion, kept coming and going as well. It wasn't consistent.
Wait, isn't Elliot with two T's a Southern girl anyway?
I thought Elliot from Las Vegas.
Oh, damn. That's what shows you what I know.
Literally, I had no idea where from.
I don't know if they're originally from Las Vegas, so I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please feel free to direct your complaints to Anne.
To be.
Damn.
No, we don't do hate. Complaints is fine. Now, speaking of the opposite of complaints, that's a terrible segue. Gottmik.
Worth a shot.
Yeah, that was terrible.
That's
it's
bad.
okay,
Sorry, I apologise, and I will be resigning. Gottmik was Paris Hilton, and I think this was probably one of the best ever Snatch Game impersonations.
Yeah.
I think
it was so good.
It was
so
perfect.
Well,
I mean, even right down from changing her voice before she
yeah.
realised she was being filmed. Because if you have seen the Paris Hilton documentary that came out last year called "This Is Paris," she does that in the documentary. She mentions that she has like an on-screen voice and a normal voice, and her normal voice is a lot deeper than her on-screen voice, and she matched it perfectly. And I thought it was also nice to see a sort of a different look to Gottmik.
Yeah,
a more softer,
definitely.
Softer look to
I
her.
feel like you would have just thought it was Paris if you saw a bit further away. It literally would have just thought it was Paris.
Yeah,
Agreed.
She sounded just like Paris, and she was like moving her mouth area just like Paris, and it was brilliant. It was honestly
everything, even the little dog.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think I liked the joke she made, which was my sister married a Rothschild, and now I'm the poor sister. Now, moving on to Candy Mute. Now, Candy, I think, is quite a good example of maybe how to play Snatch Game and make it through. Because I feel like she chose a character like Patrick Star, but did not embody that character whatsoever.
She was herself.
Yeah.
But she was herself, which was funny enough and made RuPaul laugh, and she was safe.
Yeah.
So, as much as
I feel like, I don't know, I think that was also just because there was so many people in this one that didn't do that well. Because if there was a lot of people that would have just kind of been safe and not as great, it could have turned around a bit differently. But yeah, it was just because I feel like the same thing was said about Vanjie previously, where it was like, oh, but you're just being Vanjie, which is funny, but you weren't being your character.
And I think if we're going to skip ahead to Rose in a second, but if you're doing a character that is dead, like Simone and Rose did, you can create this character which is adjacent to your own personality, so that if you are stuck with a question, you can sort of fall back on your own personality and your own responses. Whereas with someone like Patrick Star, we know they don't talk like that. We know they don't respond like that. We know that they're a bit more graceful and softer in their approach. And the food and the fat jokes, they're not on brand, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Olivia Lux. She played Tabitha Brown. Now, B, you know who Tabitha Brown is, don't you?
Yeah.
Would you like to give us an introduction to who Tabitha Brown is? Because I have no idea who she is.
I didn't know either.
I only know who she is because she has a really lovely kind of like soothing voice, and she does all of this cooking, and she does writing for the New York Reporter, I think. She's a vegan. and she just like gained popularity for like she's got a gorgeous family, and just for the sound of her voice and her food. Obviously, I know writing as well, but like that's when everyone was like, "Wow, like, oh, she's just it's relaxing and mesmerizing." And I don't think Olivia did it very well. It was awful. Honestly, I was just like, "Oh, honey, babe, like, what's going on here?" I think she should have done something. She had someone else. She should have done someone else. I don't know who, but she should have done someone else.
Don't anyone else, just anyone.
Yeah, that fell flat.
To be honest, I've got nothing else to add to that. I mean, you were right. It was sweet, and but there was no funniness to it. Apparently, she was going to do Rachel Dolezal, and for understandable reasons, she was not allowed. I think it would have been a bit too controversial, especially I think at the time of filming as well. I think the Black Lives Matter protests were quite recent, or they'd just been going on.
Yeah. So, can you say who Rachel Dolezal is for some people who may not know?
Okay, so Rachel Dolezal she was a branch president of the NAACP in America, and she was born white, and she, I believe, through lived experience, she claims to be, although she denies her heritage in terms of her, when questioned about it, she doesn't respond or give an answer to, but she claims to be black, or rather she claims to be transracial. So you will see she uses quite like a dark foundation. She has like curled her hair. Yeah. So I'm not going to comment on that because there's a lot to unpack with that particular person.
Yeah. No, I just thought it'd be good to kind of mention a little
Having
bit.
said that, I could see where that wig would have come in useful for Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe that's who she was doing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's who she had in her head, and then pretended to be Tabitha Brown instead.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been hilarious. I kind of if they had other reasons because what was going on kind of like politically or worldwide at the time. I also understand that, and I think just to add to the Rachel Dolezal or whatever her surname is that she did impersonate a woman of like being a woman of color, being someone of of African American descent. And then afterwards, when she was caught out, then she started saying that she was this trans. What's the term?
Transracial.
Yeah, transracial, and it's just like, give it a rest. Like she literally is a blonde-haired white woman with two white parents. But yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah,
exactly. I think you think to discuss on the side there's a difference between appreciation and appropriation.
Yeah. She needs to get a lesson from Utica.
Well, okay,
we'll get there.
Now, Rose, who was playing Mary, Queen of Scots, I thought again she was hilarious. She did the right thing. She chose a character that she could entirely fabricate because we have no points of reference as to what Mary, Queen of Scots was really like.
Yeah.
So she could riff and she could be funny. She could make up jokes and make up her mannerisms, and it would be funny. So all she had to do was focus on being funny.
But she also had quite a very believable Scottish accent.
She is Scottish, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's also that thing of I swear Rue was just looking at her like, what are you saying?
I don't think any Americans listening to this or watching this would have understood what was happening. So for them, it would have been funny for one other reason. But for us in the UK, we would have understood what was being said. So it's funny for a different reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually watch. We always use subtitles anyway, but So watching it, there were times where I was like, actually, this is the only time that I've been like, yes, I definitely needed those subtitles. But yeah, she was actually, like you said, when you know what she was saying as well, it still works as being funny, especially as that person. It's so good.
Okay, so moving on to Simone. Now, initially I wrote down that she started out really strong and had some funny moments, but then just slipped back into being Simone, which I get. Now I'm sort of I feel like I'm maybe rethinking my opinion that actually, yes, she did slip back into Simone, but that's perhaps a good thing because she was able to be a bit safe. This character, Harriet Tubman, we don't know what she was really like. We don't know. So she could have made up these mannerisms entirely and been hilarious with it. And she did. I think the highlight for me was when she was stamping the dollar notes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I thought that was funny. But again, I mean, this is the difference between perhaps Candy Muse and Simone. Simone's character, is no longer with us, so she could make up a bit in a characterization that was similar to her own personality and justify it. Whereas Candy,
I think it also it was kind of still linked to the character because if you think the dollar note, so I think yes, she was kind of putting in her mannerisms, but it was still to the character and what she would have gone through and what she would have done.
Yes, she did. She tied it all back to her.
Yeah,
she did.
Whereas I think Candy, I don't know.
She was just being wild and crazy. It
wasn't linked to the person.
No.
Yeah, I think that Simone's references were stronger. Like you knew who she was referring to. So although she allowed part of her personality to come in there were actually some references and some links.
Yeah.
Whereas with someone like Candy, it's just all Candy. Like there weren't references to anything.
Yeah. She should have just put Candy Muse. Like I'm being I am a famous character.
Yeah. So Tina Burnett was Richard's. Yes, Richard Simmons. Yeah, okay. The reason why I'm hesitating was the last time we recorded this, I called him Russell Simmons. So I mean, he was high energy, and I guess there was some funny moments.
I don't know the guy.
No.
Yeah. But it didn't really give me I think sometimes you kind of don't know the person and then you're kind of like, oh, I think I can imagine who this person would be. Yeah. I was just it wasn't funny for me either.
The only joke I found funny was when she mentioned, or someone mentioned, the housekeeper having locked him in. And that's why we hadn't seen him for so long. Because in real life, nobody has seen Richard Simmons in such a long time.
So are they saying that the housekeeper has? Is this something?
I think that's the running joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Poor housekeeper. Or maybe not. I don't know. She might actually be true.
Exactly. We don't know. Now, moving on to Utica Queen. So we sort of hinted earlier on. Utica decided to wear... Utica was playing Bob Ross and decided to wear a wig made of squirrels instead of an afro, which would have perhaps been more in keeping with Bob. I was going to say Bob the Ross. Bob Ross. Bob Ross's character.
She was playing Bob the Ross, not Bob Ross.
Now, if Utica had said, I want to wear a squirrel wig because it's funny, I would have bought it because it is bizarre, it's funny. She could have characterized Bob Ross as being, a TV personality who was very calm and sedate and serene, whereas in reality he's a crazed squirrel hunter who likes to wear dead squirrels on his head. That would have been more funny than what Utica actually did, which was perhaps a bit maybe too highbrow. It didn't work on Snatch Game. And then to finish it all off with spraying green paint in its mouth, it just felt...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was all too much. It was too much, but not enough. And, it was,
It was just I don't remember Bob Ross like this. With the paint coming out of the mouth and the squirrel headpiece. I'm going to call it a headpiece because I'm not convinced that it was
it's not an afro.
It's not an afro. That's a headpiece. It was just what's going on here?
She was just too early to the runway. That's what it was. That was a runway outfit because it was headpieces, wasn't it? Or was it like fascinating?
It was fascinating.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's move on to that. So let's move on to the runway. This week's runway was Fascinators. So the highlights for this week, I think we've all agreed on this, was Snow. She came down in a white gown, beautiful figure and a beautiful headpiece, with her hands held up, and then she turns around to go back up the runway, and you see two bullet wounds, and say their names on the back of the headpiece of the Fascinator. And I think that's just incredible, such a powerful moment, and a real it's real proof that drag is political, and and it can be used in a political way. So it is not just this, superficial art form where it's just like dressing up and this is what separates, in my opinion, Drag Race from other shows like Top Model and X Factor and all these other shows that are out there. It's the fact that it's using its place politically, its platform politically, to highlight important issues.
Definitely.
And this obviously being filmed near the time of the protests, and now is such a timely matter.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that I think one of the reasons that I love Drag Race so much is like the freedom of expression, and we see that in so many different, and we see how that is shown in so many different ways, down to people's drag styles, but also to maybe how they might politically make a stance, like Simone has done but last week.
Sorry, I threw you off.
Yeah, you threw me off, and then I was just
I threw you off. But no, I completely agree with that, and I think it's one of those where I look forward to seeing Simone's runways every week. It's always one thing that I'm always like, and I remember her coming out. So she comes out, and I'm like, oh, okay, still looks stunning, but I was like, I was expecting some sort of like statement. I was waiting for that. And then she turns around, and I'm like, you never let me down. Like that was, and then obviously there's then like they have her saying their names in terms of like her confessional thing. So they have her saying her names and while she's walking back, and that's it's just so like it's a powerful message. And obviously like Rue mentions it as well because she's just safe, so Rue mentions it for like before she goes out. So it's amazing.
And I think silhouette in that dress is beautiful as well.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely.
I think we've kind of decided that we're going to do an episode dedicated to Simone. Once this is all over. So I mean, she is my top choice for winner this season.
Same.
So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So once she's won, we'll have a special episode to recap.
You mean if US ever ends? I feel like
there's that too.
I know.
But yeah.
So speaking of the runway, I've got my lows this week. There's always one low. Now the judges would disagree with me, and I put Elliot as the low. They loved her look. Well, they didn't like it at first, but when it came closer to the panel, they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we actually like it the more we look at it." I just find it so confusing. It's two separate outfits.
Confusement is all I felt.
I feel like she needs to rip off the baggy bits, the sort of the flared parts, or make them tight so it's like a tight nude illusion.
They should be.
Yeah. Because if you're going for a flamingo thing, you don't need the bagginess. It just.
I did not get flamingo at all. I honestly, I was confused. I was like, what is this asymmetrical thing? And then you've got a different type of material on one side, like it's baggy, and then it's not like it's fitted on one side, and then it's like this material and colour of like tights, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like,
but then it was like studded or something, because there were like little diamond things, and I was like, I don't understand. But also, because obviously Michelle mentions it and says, "Oh, it's a flamingo," and even then I was like, "But is it?"
Literally. I had to Google a flamingo just to check like I knew what they looked like. I was like, are we thinking of the same animal? Because
And I found the hair quite jarring next to the fascinator. I don't know why.
Mm. And also, what's the other pink thing? What is that?
It's her hair.
What, the other pink thing?
Are you talking
Is
about
her hair?
That is her hair.
Oh my god!
See?
No idea. I thought it was
this
like
is
a
what I
fluffy thing on the side. Yeah, I still don't get
Yeah.
it.
Funny, this is like two something. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so Elliot goes home this week, or that week rather. Well, bye. Anyway, move on. Now,
They've
we
been.
love Elliot. We love all drag queens. We love drag.
Oh,
It's being silly.
bless her though. She's been like
She's been a
sent
fighter.
home. Yeah,
4
she's
times.
been sent home.
Yeah.
4 times.
Isn't that more than Shangela?
I don't know, but it's like when Tanisha said, the lady said, go home.
Yeah.
Go home.
The lady said home. It's true. Oh, bless her.
Now, moving on to episode 10, which just we've all just watched like the last few days. Freaky Friday. Now, it's Freaky Friday. The queens are challenged to make over each other into their own drag doppelgangers. Comedian and host Lonnie Love, guest judges psychic Shah Margolis makes an appearance. So, this psychic turns up. Now, I don't know what you feel about psychics, but I've got an opinion. And Rue decides to play tricks and send them to the stage. And this psychic starts stirring the pot, bringing up a potential love match between Denali and Rose. And somehow she figured out that Candy maybe didn't like someone. Now, I'm not being funny, but the minute you see Candy, you know she's going with someone.
That's so true. And it's not even just like one person, it's probably people.
No, she's probably with the entire cast and crew and RuPaul as well.
Oh my god, yeah, it's so true. And then there was the cow thing.
Clara the cow. First of all, of course you're going to call a cow Clara. Secondly, looking at the stage, who else is going to own a cow? It's going to be
And
Utica.
also, that's what the cow said. Moo. What? And no other spirits
bizarre.
talking to you.
It was
Oh
a
my
bit
God.
bizarre. I have no idea what was going through RuPaul's head. I think there must have been some sort of contractual.
She just wanted someone
VH1 thing.
for the matches. That's what it was.
I have a feeling maybe I don't know how to say this woman's name. Shah Margolis has a TV show on VH1 probably, and they just want to cross promote.
Ah, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Sound off. Post in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are your opinions on psychics? Do you believe in them? What do you think?
Oh, for me, no. Yeah, no. Also because I think it's always like there's a letter A coming to me. I'm like, just say the name. Why we're playing like Hangman or something? Like I don't understand. But no, not me.
B?
Yeah, no, well, it's difficult because I feel like one of the podcasts that I mentioned in the episode that I was on, she starts with like a tarot reading, and I do think that it's usually like a generic, she's pulled out cards. It's not like a personalized thing, but I have been like I'm quite intrigued by tarot reading. So I guess if that's some sort of like psychic, it's never in like great detail, but it might be like a general feeling or something that's coming in your life or something like that. So I kind of do. I do feel like that maybe our ancestors can communicate with us in different ways.
I mean, I do have this thought that, or feeling at times that the universe is a lot bigger than us, and there is bound to be stuff that we don't know yet. And isn't there that saying that magic is just signs that we don't know yet?
That's true.
And so maybe to an extent, I think yes, there's probably something out there that we're unaware of, some sort of energy maybe. Some people call it God, some people call it, I don't know, the eternal wheel of life. But then when I see this Shah Margolis and these sort of stage psychics, I think, what is the real difference between someone like that who is making up or sort of playing the odds game and sort of sussing out, doing like cold reading on people to try and suss out, something? I think you're lying though. Like you're not being truthful, and to me, it just doesn't sit right. It feels like you are conning people out of their money, and I think there is a difference. Don't get me wrong. There are times in my life I've felt like the universe is saying something to me. It's saying to make this choice or make that choice, but it's not because someone sat down and said, "Oh, Dan, I can sense, a new fortune in life." It's because I've paid attention to what's happening around me.
Yeah.
More so, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Drag Race. The queens are paired off according to Shah, and they have to make each other over in each other's iconic looks. So for example, they have to make sure that the other queen is in the image of themselves. I guess traditionally this episode would have been like on a sister or a mother or a fan of Drag Race or a complete stranger, and to make them look like the family resemblance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously with COVID they can't do it that way, so they've got to do it on each other. Now Rosé and Tina Burner are paired up. Olivia Lutz and Denali are paired up. Simone and Utica Queen are paired up. Gottmik and Candy Muse are paired up. Now,
I would say that I think the pairings, whether Shah did it or not, were actually good.
Yes, I thought they were good too.
I agree.
So if we look at Rosé and Tina, in a weird way, I think Rosé's makeup has been done by Tina. I feel like it does somehow feminize her face a little bit more, because sometimes I feel like normally her jawline is quite prominent. It's quite like I don't know, maybe it's the lighting or I don't know. But Tina looks fresh in terms of her look of the dress. I think it looks so good on her to be wearing something other than red, yellow, or orange.
Oh my god, yeah. She embodied her, actually. I think she did really well.
She did so well. And to be fair, I mean, all of the queens didn't. I don't think any of the queens did badly. I don't think anyone was bad. I think it was just degrees of good.
Yeah.
Simone
and
it's
Utica, down to the last bit, yeah.
Exactly. We're down to we're getting further on in the series, sorry.
Finally,
Simone and Utica. Yeah. Now I've not seen this film. Have you seen this film? Black American Princesses, I think it's called. BAPS. No. So Simone puts Utica in an outfit which apparently references this film, and Halle Berry I think is in the film, and I've forgotten the other character, the other actors as well. Now there was again this conversation with Utica and the idea of appropriation, and I have to say I really feel like Lonnie Love sort of hit the notes when she said that they addressed this issue quite well, and I think this week the episode did a good job of addressing the difference between appropriation and appreciation, and channeling the spirit of someone who is of a different skin color to you without appropriating the culture. Because when we saw Utica walk down the runway, it was like a different person. It wasn't Utica, and she embodied the spirit of Simone, and Simone as well did the same for Utica.
Yeah,
you saw the way she moved her body. It was very It was almost like a dancer sort of way. She was moving her body, and she embodied. And I just thought they both did so well, and they really this issue of appreciation and appropriation. I think they really. Yeah.
I think they needed it as well, because I think in terms of they are both quite they focus on their art and how they're going to present whatever the message they're trying to present in that time. They both have that. So I think putting them together was really good, but also addressed Utica's, I think it's that fear that a lot of people have at the moment of, oh, I don't want to come across like this, so I just won't do it. And I think it shouldn't be about like, oh, the fear of, oh, so just don't do it. It should be that thing of like, you still want to appreciate it. You still want to, like Rue said, coming from a place of love. And you can usually tell the difference between appreciation and appropriation. So yeah, I think Utica needed that a lot, especially after the squirrel thing.
Yeah, and I think that you can, like, in this episode, like, they actually understood, like, it was, Utica understood appropriation and, like, appreciation, and I think lots of people still have that lesson, and that's why they have a fear of, oh, I'm going to do something and upset people. It's because you don't understand. But she embodied Simone, and she's not in blackface. And it's the same
exactly.
when it comes to, and it's the same thing that people need to understand when it comes up to Halloween, and they want to be whatever character. You don't need to blackface that person to do that, to be that person. Otherwise, you're just a bad actress, or you're just bad at, like, you know,
exactly
taking on their full character, their persona.
Mm-hmm. You don't understand them.
Anyone. Yeah, there's no need to offend anyone. I could go off and be any white character that I wanted to be, and I wouldn't need any white paint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. No, you're spot on there. Absolutely spot on. Olivia and Denali. Now, there was a lot of talk about the makeup and the look, and I felt they were being a bit harsh for the sake of justifying putting them at the bottom. Like, instantly I looked at Olivia and I could tell that was Denali's.
Yeah.
I looked at Denali and I could tell that was Olivia, because with the classic sort of gown and the arm poop.
I agreed with the Denali part. So as in like Olivia addressing Denali, because I do think when I think of Olivia, I think of her big hair, and I think that was right that she should have had the bigger hair, because if you think of like every time she's done it, her hair literally has a life of its own. It's always like big and bouncy and that. So I think agreed with that. In terms of like, but that's also very nitpicky. I feel like they went in a lot more, but I guess that's also editing, because we probably didn't see the other part where they did go in a lot more than anybody else, because they knew they weren't going. But I mean, it was a bit harsher than it should have been.
I think this kind of goes back to the whole beginning of season 13. This is such a strong cast. Mm-hmm. And if we wanted to really play the game, no one would be going home this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next up, we've got Gottmik and Candy Muse. And as Candy Muse made it very well known, they did have a really tough go of it this week, because they're two different body types, two very different personality types, and they made it work. They really did make it work quite well. And I mean, I'm not instinctively one of those people who would speak out for themselves like Candy did, but I have to say I really do applaud her for doing so, because when all the queens were all like, I don't know, she stood up for herself. And
yeah, I agree with that, but I think Candy was stronger than Gottmik in terms of the impersonation, but maybe it's just they didn't. Yeah,
I agree. Like when Gottmik come out, it was only her characterization and her attitude that gave me any bit of Candy. Like I still don't really see it, and they got lots of like nice. Yeah, visually, I don't see it. Like, I can see Gottmik in Candy, but I can't see Candy in Gottmik.
Yeah,
actually, I agree with that too. Yeah. For me, it was more about the characterizations which they got right, more so than Candy's outfit. Gottmik's outfit on Candy was great, because like with the makeup, you could instantly tell that's a Gottmik face.
Yeah, and even the fact that her boobs are out, the way it is, and I think yeah, I just think it was done better that way around. But I think they kind of had the same issue that Denali and Olivia had, but obviously they went in more on Olivia and
Yeah. So the queens were then asked by Rue who should go home tonight, and I just think this is literally just Rue sitting back and
yeah,
taking a giant
drop a
shit
bombshell.
in the workroom and walking
Literally.
away. Like, you deal with it now. Because overwhelmingly all chose Olivia. I've not yet to watch Untucked. I've got Untucked to watch after this. So I'm going to do some bedtime drag race viewing and watch Untucked. So I'm quite interested to see how that all went down behind the scenes. I can't imagine it went down well. But
No.
Olivia Lux, and well, although having said that, she was quite graceful on stage about it.
She was.
Wasn't she? And,
yeah, I think she was.
And I think she will take it quite well. Yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see. But the bottom two were Denali and Olivia Lux, and they had to lip sync to Shackles by Mary Mary, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. It is such a special song to me, that song. Like, it has a real special place in my heart. Going back to a previous episode where we talked about funeral songs, that'll be played during my funeral. So, yeah. Just so you know, because, you know, you're going to have a bit of a dance, a bit of a good gospel moment.
Definitely.
So now we have Rose, Tina, Olivia, Simone, Utica, Gottmik, and Candy Muse. I was really quite disappointed to see Denali go home. I mean, she is incredible. Like, I mean, forget Drag Race. The content she's putting up on her socials, on YouTube, of such high quality. Yeah. I really think she's a strong contender to come out for an all-star season.
Definitely. I think also, I don't know, I think she had a bit of a harder outfit to kind of perform in, and I think I keep thinking if she was in what she would have been wearing, which is what Olivia was wearing, I can imagine she would have turned it out.
It's funny you said that. So that was actually a thing that kind of went off on Twitter for a little bit, and Olivia had to tweet to sort of say that actually her dress that she put Denali in was a tearaway, and it would have been a leotard, so she could have danced more. Did
she know that though?
She did, and
okay.
Denali then tweeted saying she didn't want to tear away the dress because it didn't match the performance she was giving, and she felt it didn't match the song, so she wanted to be respectful to the song.
Okay.
It just wouldn't have worked. So
it was more of a choice than a fair enough.
It was a choice. Yeah.
Choices.
Yeah, it's sad to see Denali go. I feel like she was only just like towards the last couple of episodes. I really started to like grow fond of her. Like before, it's going to sound really rude, but I felt like she was quite forgettable in the competition, and I think she felt that. She felt quite overlooked. I think she says that in one of the episodes. So it's sad that her journey's ended in season 13.
Yeah.
Well, when journey ends, another one begins.
It's true.
Drag Race UK. Now, this week was called Stoned on the Runway. This week, queens face one of their toughest challenge yet as they are asked to write and perform their own comedy stand-up routines on the theme of love. Dawn French joins Michelle Visage and Alan Carr on the judging panel as another queen takes her lead. So this week was about stand-up comedy, basically. Now, RuPaul enters the workroom with, well, there was something on RuPaul's head. I don't know what it was. It was a wig, apparently.
Doing her Austin Powers impression. Leave her alone.
Oh, God. I know. It was, again, choices. It was a choice that was made. Anyway.
It's a choice.
Yeah. So up until now, it feels like the group has been making small jibes and sort of poking at Ellie because she hasn't won RuPeter badge yet. She's the youngest. And finally, Ellie wins the mini challenge and is allowed to choose the lineup of the main challenge, or the maxi challenge. Now, because the Maxi Challenge is a stand-up show, there is a feeling, and I guess it is sort of known that you either want to be at the beginning or the end, really, and you want to put your stronger people at the beginning of the end, and everybody else will scatter in the middle. And I don't know what you guys think about that, because in my opinion, I think if you're funny, you'll be funny regardless of where you are.
Yeah.
As an audience member, I'm not sitting there thinking, well, they were at the beginning, therefore they should have been funnier. I mean, I'll laugh if they're funny, regardless.
Yeah. I think it's also, like, it is more nerve-wracking. I think it's more of like it is probably more nerve-wracking for the people doing it, but it won't change your content. So it might change a little bit of how you deliver it, but it won't change your content. So wherever you are, if what you're going to say is funny, it will be funny.
Exactly. So when the order of the lineup was announced, Ahura and Lawrence flipped. They were pissed.
Yeah, and they were angry.
They were angry,
yeah,
like, properly angry. And we see it later on after the challenges come and gone. They've all come in to sit down to do the untucked bits of the episode. And Ellie has said nothing, and Ahura is immediately like, I am so mad if you even open your mouth, I'm going to breathe fire and burn your wig to the ground. And like, Ellie has said nothing, she hasn't said a thing, and you're already laying into her. And Lawrence is like, you're like a sister to me, and all this. And I just felt the whole thing was just way overdone.
See, I didn't get, because obviously the lineup was Ahura first, and then obviously Taste was finishing. We're talking about I don't understand why Lawrence was upset. I kind of understand a little bit of why Ahura was upset, even though it still doesn't change what she would have done. But I understand a little bit more Ahura. I don't understand why Lawrence was so upset, and I expected it to be Taste who was more upset, and Taste took it like a freaking champ. Like, completely, like, found a new respect for Taste, and
exactly.
Starting the episode, and I was just kind of like, oh, Taste might be the one who's kind of going after obviously the week before. The end of it, I was like, Taste cannot leave. Like, I found a new respect for Taste, and it's just, I don't know. I didn't like the way Lawrence handled it.
No, I think that, like, where Lawrence was coming from was that, oh, Bimini's ahead of me, and Bimini's going to be fantastic, so then I have to be even better. And just got in his own head that way. And it's the same way as Ahura was like, I'm starting off the show, I have to be fantastic, and got in her head because she knew she wasn't a comedy queen. And then they were kind of like getting annoyed at Ellie because Ellie was like, I feel so bad, and was like dangling that carrot of being, it's like, bitch, you chose this order. What do you mean? You feel bad?
To be fair, I think that made it worse. Yeah,
exactly.
That made it worse.
And I think that's what was really like winding them up. And it was like, just stand firm in your decision, and that you're playing a game, and that you're using your position, that you won the mini challenge, you're using it to your advantage, which in a way I think that everyone would understand and respect, because at the end of the day it's a competition.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, RuPaul herself has said many times, play the game.
It's not RuPaul's best friends race.
No, and at the end of the day, they're here to make as much as it is about drag. They are also there to make entertainment TV, and they are there to play a game to win a crown.
Do you think Ru told her to do it? She was like,
I think
you win if you put the order as this.
No, I honestly think that
no, I know.
Because I think they were like, you know what, you're not getting anything here, so maybe you should do something intense, you know.
But yeah, I do think, like, I think it was a strategic move, and it worked out. Also, I think it's one of those things where the way they reacted was a bit much. Like, you would be upset, get it, but they kind of kept going on about it, and after a while, I was like, oh my god.
So the bottom two were Hora and Tace, and they lip synced to "You Don't Have to Say You Love Me" by Dusty Springfield, and Hora went home, which was a shock. Then also I'm like, well, who else is going home? You know, someone has to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not my bay Tace.
No.
Yeah. Exactly.
One thing I did want to point out was the height difference between Ellie and Bimini on the runway.
Yeah.
Maybe we can post this
so
in the Instagram post. I got a screen clip of the show, and it is honestly like.
To be fair, that
Ellie
picture, it looks like. Sorry, I was just going to say, on that picture, it actually looks like even Lawrence is kind of like, where's the rest of you?
Honestly, I mean, the fact that like Bimini is to bed in heels and Ellie's in heels, and it's still an entire head and shoulder above Bimini. I mean, I think the coat that Bimini's wearing doesn't help as well. It looks like he's wearing his dad's, like a child wearing their dad's coat, you know? It's quite the oversized look.
Also, I don't think we mentioned this, but Bimini was amazing in that comedy show.
Oh gosh, of course, yes.
Obviously,
definitely was, yeah.
Like Bimini's just fantastic. Like Bimini,
is so good.
She's been consistently like great throughout the whole competition. Like, well, apart from the first week, you know, but since then, she's just been like fighting. It's just like Bimini. She's one of my favorites, actually. Her and Tace.
Me too. Me too.
So we move on to this last week's episode, BeastEnders. The search for the UK's next Drag Race superstar continues in the penultimate episode of the series. We're already, bear in mind, they started the same week roughly, US and UK, and we're already going to get our winner next week. And they are still faffing around in America with their toppings. 8 people. Anyway, this week the Queen's acting skills are put to the test as they star in a new soap opera, BeastEnders. To help them with their roles, EastEnder legend Natalie Cassidy, aka Sonia, gives the girls a soap acting masterclass. Whilst Michelle Visage and Graham Dawson and an extra special guest judge join RuPaul to deliberate the fate of the remaining queens. So, first of all, mini challenge puppets. Now,
I was afraid of what Lawrence was gonna say.
Yeah, so Lawrence had
Ellie.
Yeah, which was, I mean, he was still quite angry this episode, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's
like a dog with a bone.
It really is. And I mean, Lawrence is 23, 25, I think. And like, in this episode, he comes across like a disappointed mother. Like, you know what? You know that I don't think I ever, like,
I've raised you better than this.
But you know, there's a point in your life where your mother says to you, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed in you."
Oh yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, that hurts even more than her being angry," you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it came across, really. But yes, with the puppetry episode, the winner of the mini challenge was Bimini Bombulash.
Yeah.
Who did Bimini do again? Just remind
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
Lawrence. Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost
managed to do the accent as well. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Well, the great thing about the puppet episode is it's almost like an indirect reading episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, this week we see the queens have to act out a scene or like an episode of BeastEnders, which is of course a parody of EastEnders, and they get a masterclass from Natalie Cassidy.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I love the bit when she rattled off like, the list of things that she's been, like the different types of characters she's been. And the things that she missed out, the one that she missed out the episode where she was playing the trumpet. I don't know if you've seen the clip on YouTube of her playing a trumpet outside the police station or something, and she gets told off by the police officer.
No, I need to look that up.
Have you seen on 8 out of 10 Cats? There's is it Morgana Robinson? I can't remember her name now. She does the impersonation of Natalie Cassidy on 8 out of 10 Cats.
Yeah.
I'm doing this thing now. I'm gonna have to insert a clip of Natalie. Anyway.
Yeah.
So what did we think about this week's episode of the spoof of BeastEnders? What did we think of the acting in this? I personally thought they all did really well, and I think, and I know the judgments about Taste and Ellie, weren't perhaps so great, but they weren't terrible. I think they played into their characters as they should have. I think
I don't think so.
Mm.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say I felt like I thought they would be a little hard on Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Because especially in the takes, like he required so many more like cues and breaks and the rest of it. And actually, yeah, I was actually surprised that Ellie Diamond was in the bottom two, based on that performance.
Yeah, I do sort of feel that maybe they have been gearing us towards a top two of Lawrence and Bimini quite clearly. And so, yeah. But I thought Bimini was amazing in her role. I thought the part where she was scrubbing the floor and she was completely poised, like the way she had the shoes, the pointed feet, when she was on her hands and knees, like scrubbing the floor. I thought that was perfection right there. It was comedy gold.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So the lip sync song for this episode was Last Thing on My Mind by Steps. Now, I think that's ultimate camp right there. Steps and Drag Race. We're literally reaching camp at 200%. It was amazing. And for anyone who doesn't know or doesn't follow Steps, I follow them on YouTube just because, I'm a fake. Yeah. I prefer their new music to their old music. Oh god, yeah, there's so much music. In fact, they have released a song with Michelle Visage. Yeah, they have a new single out called Heartbreaking.
Like all of them.
Yeah, the whole band. Yeah.
No way! I'm gonna have to Google this.
Yeah. Their latest song features
like they never stopped, or they Sorry, I was just gonna say, did they never stop, or did they reform?
They reformed a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they've released 2 albums
No way,
since.
that's amazing. 2 albums.
Yeah.
Not even just like one random single.
No.
They've got discography.
Yeah. And like those albums are doing well.
To it.
Yeah.
Dan, apparently.
The thing is, I was never a huge fan of their older stuff growing up. I just it wasn't, something that interested me. But like now, I'm like, actually, some of their newer stuff isn't terrible. It's camp, it's fun, and their new song.
To be fair, we need to listen to it, so maybe we'll eat our words after we listen to it.
And their new song has Michelle Visage on it, as I've been trying to say. So yeah, it's got. It has extra.
Just been talking
meaning.
Over you.
Yeah, soz.
So yeah, the new song is worth a listen. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I'll listen to that one alone.
So we see Ellie and Taste lip syncing to Steps, and well, no one goes home.
Yeah, just quickly, what did you guys think of Taste's performance actually in the BeastEnders episode?
I thought she was all right. I think they did criticize it. I don't think it was bottom 2 worthy.
I think it's one of those things where I feel like, when they showed the recording of it, they showed a lot about Ellie and Lawrence, because obviously they were cutting off. They didn't show that much, which means I'm guessing she didn't have to take that much direction. But then obviously when you see it all recorded. I think they all did really well, and I think that's where I was kind of expecting it to be more about how they were in the recording of it, and how they did during that part of it than after, which is why I expected Lawrence to be one of the bottom ones. I didn't expect. Yeah, but I think at the same time I wasn't really sure who was going to be in the bottom because it was quite tight this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just felt like the only thing for me with Taste was that I do felt like the accent was really distracting, and she was sounding quite Australian.
She
points.
was quite Australian.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's
what's
true.
going on here? I was like, we're not doing Neighbours.
I did love Neighbours.
Yeah, it's the same, but yeah.
But yeah, that's true.
I think I can. Yeah, now that you say that, I can kind of see. What did we think about the runway? The whole pantomime runway.
Oh yeah.
There was some good looks there. I think I agree with what they said about Taste's runway. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was still pretty. It was pretty pantomime, wasn't it? It wasn't like camp and over the top and yeah.
To be honest, I do think the bottom in terms of the runway were Ellie and Taste. I found it really distracting the way Ellie's dress kind of like came out, and that was because she had another little part, because I kept saying I think it would be nicer if it was smaller, because there was it looked like there was a hoop and it just fell really weirdly after a certain point when it was longer. So like on that picture you can kind of see where, I don't know, I guess the like padding or something on the inside kind of stops, and then the dress, like the material just falls down, so it looks like there's a little like hoop midway through. Was the little
I see what you mean. However, I think for Panto it worked though, because that is Panto. Panto is knockoff royalty. It's like, you know, you've got the knockoff ermine look and the knockoff sort of red, white, and blue, and the although I feel Bimini did elevate it to a different place.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the critiques for Taste and Ellie were a bit harsh, I think. And Lawrence, though, however, with the headpiece of the sewing machine, that was good. I did like that.
Yeah.
I liked the waistline with the needles in the arm.
Yeah.
I thought that was really quite clever. I just think they're nitpicking at this point because they have to.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? Yeah.
But also, if we think about it, none of them left, and that was because they were all really good. So that's also another thing.
This is true, and I think it makes it quite clear, though, for next week's episode, that we already know in our head who the top two are. It's going to be Lawrence and Bimini, but they're Ellie and Taste. They can throw in a few spanners in the work here and there if they want to.
True.
So the game is completely over.
Yeah.
So next week, the Queens is the finale, and the Queens have to write and record a verse for a RuPaul song, which is to be announced. So we don't know which one it is. Apparently RuPaul has released a new EP or an album, so
always does.
Exactly, and it could be one of the songs off this new release. So I'm not too sure. So we'll have to wait and see until next week, Thursday. Do you guys want to say now who you think the winner is going to be?
Bimini.
Bimini.
Bimini?
Yeah.
I'm saying Bimini as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bimini for the win.
It's official. Brunch Committee podcast is saying that Bimini is the winner. We will check in next week, and if we're wrong,
we'll never be.
I like that. If we're wrong, we will pause.
Look, we don't admit when we're wrong, okay? So thank you guys for sticking with us for part 2 of this week's episode. Thank you to B again for sticking with us and joining us on this re-recorded episode of the Brunch Committee.
She's been with us for hours, guys.
I know she's had to spend such an unusually long amount of time with us this week. So thank you for putting up with us.
We'll have her back, don't worry.
Yes, we will definitely have her back whether she likes it or
not. Yeah.
B, where can people find you and your business?
So to find me on Instagram, I'm under Konjo, so that's BeaKonjo. And you can find my business as well. We are Konjo Designs on Instagram. So yeah, give me a follow.
That's great. And our podcast, you can find us at Brunch Committee on Instagram and Brunch Committee on Facebook. I'm Daniel Kumar, and I'm on Instagram at Dan Kumar Official.
And I'm Amenye, and I'm on Instagram as @MiniChanda.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yay, we did it.
Yay.